Hello everyone, my name is Shadowswom and I'm here to present to you guys the free week champions for week 42, which is this week for League of Legends. Let's jump right into things, shall we? So first champion we see here is Anivia. Anivia, very strong mid lane champion. They have her as mage slash support, but when has she ever played a support? Let's be honest here. Very rarely she played a support. You know, that's more of a secondary role. That's why we see like Anivia, it says mage support, and Sona it says support mage. You know, rarely is Anivia played as a support, but when she's played mid, you know, played like she, you know, honestly should be, and the way everybody plays her, you know, if they know how to, you know, if you guys know how to position her wall and know exactly what her wall does, and again, how to position it, how to use it in your favor, and just use her mechanic of, you know, the egg as well as the frostbite mechanic where, you know, if they got hit by, you know, say her ult or, you know, a fragment of her stun, something like that, and you use your glacial, forget what it is, but it's your single target ability that after they get hit by one of your other abilities, and, you know, they have like that little frostbite on them, they take immense amounts of extra damage. If you know how to abuse that, she's just a beast. Like, just in all honesty, a beast. She can pretty much two-shot almost anyone. Obviously, just about anybody can two-shot anyone. But she's one of those mid-champions where, you know, if you just do not pay attention and she has enough AP, you will get like two-shot from her just combo. It's kind of ridiculous. You know, not only that, but if you get stunned in her ultimate's just like Karthus' Defile, except she can aim where she wants her ult to be, and she can toggle it just like, you know, Karthus can toggle his Defile. It's very nice. It's, you know, her wall can be used as both, you know, an offensive, like, oh my god, you're not going to be going that route to get away, you have to stay here. And it can also be used defensively, like, no, you're not coming you know, at me from this route, you have to take an alternative. You know, it can help against those pesky junglers that are coming around near your tower, stuff like that, get them trapped, like, along the tower or just outside, so that way it gives you enough time to, you know, just get to your tower at least. It's very nice. You know, not much else can be said about her, other than her egg mechanic is very deceptive. You know, yeah, you can die twice, but it's pretty much a guardian angel, except, you know, when your egg pops, you still can be attacked, and it can still die during that form. So it's, you know, it's a double-edged sword. If they don't realize you have your ultimate still and they just leave you after taking you down the first time in a big team fight and you come back, you can just turn the tide right there. Just like Aatrox, just like anybody with a GA. So, again, she's very deceptive and very strong and potent at that, as well as just, you know, she's got the I guess you can say vinyl stun. She's got a nice AoE ult that can be placed again anywhere within a certain range of her. She's got a nice single target nuke and a nice little escape slash chasing mechanism in the form of her ice wall. Overall, very well-rounded character. Glad that, you know, she's free this week. Then we have Sivir. They actually just redid Sivir a little bit. Her Ricochet now bounces indefinitely, as long as they're, you know, well, can only hit the same target once, but it can bounce indefinitely to help clear those, you know, ginormous creep waves, stuff like that. You know, it can, say there are 40 creeps there, it'll hit all 40 of them instead of just only hitting like 4 of them. So it's nice that they, you know, improved her Ricochet. Her ult has also been tweaked a little bit. I forget exactly what her ult does, but her Ricochet, I know it can bounce indefinitely within reason, as well as you get 3 charges of Ricochet instead of just 1. Her spell shield now doesn't cost any mana, but you get less mana at early levels with your spell shield. So it's a fair trade-off. Her boomerang blade is still the same. She's overall just a good marksman. She's, you know, she's where she should have been a long time ago. Her passive, I believe it's still the way it was, where if you hit somebody, you gain, like, 5% movement speed or 10% movement speed for, like, 2 seconds. That's pretty damn nice. It's not too overpowered, but it's not underpowered at the same time. It's just where it needs to be. Right now she's where she needs to be. She's not too strong, not too underpowered. Overall, she's good if you're... she's very easy to play. I should have mentioned that. She's just easy to play, but easy to be countered against and with at the same time. Again, being easy doesn't always mean they're good. Anivia, it's kind of that high risk, high reward, where the easier the champion, most likely the harder it is to be better with them, because they have less of a risk reward. Whereas, say, somebody like Anivia, higher risk because she has a higher skill ceiling than Sivir. But yeah, very, very good, range ADC. Nice, solid ADC at that. Can't wait to see how many people just completely fail with Sivir, though, and don't understand her Ricochet, or Boomerang Blade, or Spell Shield, or even her ult. Pantheon. What can I say about this guy? I mean, he's nice and beefy when he wants to be, and when he wants to just be that, AD powerhouse, he can't be, because he has to build tanky. Pantheon players, he doesn't require that much skill to play. I mean, all champions require some skill to play, but it doesn't require that much skill to be good with Pantheon. Because once you're below, I believe it's 15% health, he has a 100% chance to crit on you with both his basic attacks as well as his spear. That doesn't require that much skill. I mean, yeah, you gotta be below 15% for that to be active, but, it doesn't require that much skill to just go ahead and toss your spear when they're below 15% and get that last hit in with it. Although it does require skill to land nice stuns, nice ults, just nice everything else. So, he's very, very strong, just a little less on the health side. He doesn't have as much base health as I would like. But that being said, his passive, it does absorb, a basic attack from, a turret, a champion, a minion. So that does help, and his stun refreshes it. As well as every 4th attack, he gets that shield. Granted, he can only have one of those shields up at a time, but that's still damn good. That can absorb, say a shot from Misfortune that would have crit, and, would have been like a 400 crit. Oh, look, that just got blocked, and lol, that 400 damage just did nothing. So, yeah. I mean, he takes a while to get used to, but once you get used to him, once you know how to play against him, he's, again, just like any other champion, laughable to play against and laughable to play as if you know what you're doing. But if you don't know what you're doing against and as him, you're just going to have a hard time. It's going to be like hitting your head against a brick wall. And I would say maybe play a game or two versus bots, before you actually go playing against other people with Pantheon. Xin Zhao, same thing. Same exact thing that I just said for Pantheon, except he doesn't get that 100% chance to crit when you're below 15% health. He does, however, require a lot more skill to play effectively. His ult does a percentage of your current health, as well as knocks everybody except his current target away from him. He does have a knock-up where Pantheon only has a stun, and, Xin Zhao, he has a little more base health. He does more damage, but again, requires a lot more, I guess you can say, patience to learn and to master him. Pantheon's, you understand your combo automatically, whereas Xin Zhao, it's different. Plus you have your battle cry, which, that's kind of a pseudo lifesteal. Every 3rd attack, you get life back, which, that's good. Plus I believe you can pop it and get increased attack speed. And you also have a kind of charge mechanic. Again, same rules apply for Xin Zhao that I said for Pantheon. Relatively easy to master in a way, but again, as I just said, like 30 seconds ago, it does require more patience to learn and to master. for him, I definitely recommend going ahead and playing 2 to 3 games versus like the intermediate bots to learn how to play Xin Zhao effectively. You know, to be good at him, you just have to be mediocre. To be, or let me rephrase that. To be okay with him, you have to be mediocre. To be good with him, you actually have to be a good player. You know, to be mediocre with him, you just have to be meh. You know, just be like, oh, okay. You know, oh, I charged in, I got my ult off. Oh, look, I dispersed everyone. Oh, I helped the team. You know, that's it. But a good Xin Zhao will be like, oh, I just went in, I stunned the right target, I knocked everybody else towards my team so they can get their kills, and oh, look, we just aced them for nobody. You know, that's the key difference. Whereas Pantheon, it's more of, oh, I just stunned the right target and soaked up a bunch of damage. Xin Zhao, it's more, oh, I just, you know, knocked up the right target, did a bunch of damage, soaked up a lot of damage, and knocked everybody else towards my team so that way they can get damaged. But again, for Xin Zhao, definitely highly recommend going up and playing against, you know, the intermediate bots 2 to 3 times, maybe more, depending on how, you know, confident you feel after the second game. Misfortune. Very, very easy to play ADC. Like, stupid easy. The only difficult thing about her is the fact that your ult, you have to just stand there and channel it for the good 2 seconds to get the entire, you know, force of your damage off, where 90% of the time that will not be possible. You know, there be those very, very, very rare times where you can just, you know, stand in the back and get your complete ultimate off, get the most damage from it, and not get harassed and die in the process. That being said, though, if you can, just, oh my god, the amount of damage you do. You know, she does have a nice form of, you know, zoning in the form of Make It Rain, where, you know, she just rains cannonballs down pretty much. You know, it's a nice zoning mechanism as well as an escape mechanisms because, you know, it does slow the enemies down while they're in it. Might force them to use an ability they, you know, or summon a spell they might not have wanted to use, like Flash, you know, Ghost, something like that, to just catch up to you, because your passive, you know, it does make you one of the fastest moving characters in the game, aside from Hecarim. So, just take that with a grain of salt, though. She is very, very squishy. But if just left unchecked, her double up will completely wreck the opponent's ADC, and it can just wreck anybody, as well as, forget the name of her W, but it literally is just a steroid. It's just like Tristana's Rapid Fire. It's a ginormous steroid that increases her attack speed, as well as, oh, her Impure Shots, that's what it is. Her Impure Shot, which, you know, also reduces the healing the enemies take by 50%, which, you know, that's damn good. If you're trying to focus the ADC and he's getting healed by their support, that is definitely nice. You know, that's your steroid. Plus, if you don't even activate it, you still just do stacking damage to the other, you know, to your opponent that you're fighting. So, overall, very good. I mean, you can play a game or two as her versus bots. I would recommend at least one if you've never played her before, just so you can get the hang of how her ult works, how Make It Rain works, how Impure Shots and Double Up work. Because Double Up does take a little bit of, you know, knowledge of where that second bullet is going to land, and exactly how much damage it's going to do. You know, you'll get those, you know, sweet, sweet times where you just get a double kill due to Double Up. Or is it Double Shot? One of the two. There's so many champions that I forget the names. But, yeah, it's her Q. You'll see it immediately. It looks like a giant gun with a cannonball coming out of it. It's that simple. You know, if you can get one of those sweet, you know, Qs off where it just gets 2 kills for you, that's an amazing feeling. But don't expect that to happen all the time, because, you know, it can say, oh, it hits the target behind the primary target, but in actuality, it can hit, like, say you hit one of the, you know, caster minions, it might hit the caster minion that's right next to it, just, you know, a very, very small, like, centimeter behind it, versus, like, the champion that was 3 centimeters behind it. So, definitely be careful about that. Other than that, she's very, very solid. Again, on the squishy side of the ADCs. A lot squishier than, say, Sivir, but still very good nonetheless. Then we have Sona, who very, very good support. Takes a little bit to get used to, just the fact that, her power chord has, potentially 3 different, ways of using it. You can slow your enemies down, you can go ahead and debuff their damage, or, you can lessen the damage they do, or you can just do an immense amount of damage to them. As well as at the same time, depending on which aura you have up, you can, be buffing your allies' armor, magic resist, and heal them at the same time whenever you pop that. You can be giving them passive AD and AP, or you can be giving them passive movement speed. So she does take a little bit to get used to, not, oh my god, it's, you're gonna fail your first time around. It's very easy to understand Sona, and your ultimate, your crescendo, it's one of those where you just have to land those sweet, sweet ults, and, paired with somebody like, say, Misfortune, that's that wombo combo that everybody dreams of, is, that Sona or Zyra ult with Misfortune, or a Mumu ult with Misfortune, something like that. Something where you can get everybody stuck in one spot for a good 2 seconds, and just let your ADC lay waste with their ult. Like Misfortune, for instance. But, yeah, aside from that, she's, very, 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 squishy and prone to dying a lot. Not the fact that she doesn't have as much health as other people, it's just that she doesn't have as much armor and magic resist, so we have to buy those items to make up for it. You're gonna die very rapidly if you don't pay attention, obviously, but with Sona more so, since, yeah, she's one of those supports where you just really want to kill her before she gets her crescendo off, whereas somebody like, say, oh, I don't know, Leona or Soraka, that can actually take a hit or two. Well, Soraka less than Leona, but, Soraka, her ult is global. She can die mid-team fight, res, during the, while the fight's still going on, ult, and it's not gonna matter diddly. Whereas Sona, the second she dies, she has to get back to her team and back into the fight in order to use her ult. Most of the time you can actually kill her before she actually gets her ult off, because she's just that squishy. She doesn't have that much movement speed compared to other, supports such as Soraka, but she actually can boost herself up with her E, I believe it is. So just be wary of that. Also, be wary of the fact that your Q, every time you pop it, it does send out 2 little cords to the nearest 2 enemies. It prioritizes champions, but it will actually just hit 2 random minions if the champions aren't close enough. You can use it to harass, but I would not recommend that unless you've played Sona before and are comfortable with her. Then we have Trundle. My oh my, is Trundle just a beast. He has a lot of health, he does a lot of damage, he doesn't require all that much knowledge on how to play him, but he's still fairly difficult to play if you've just never played him before or haven't played him since his change. I haven't played him since his change, so I can only speak on the behalf of how to play against him, which is never let him get in melee range, ever. The second he gets you in melee range, you're almost toast. The fact that his ult does flat damage now, it's kind of ridiculous, plus the fact that his pillar, it's kind of a nuisance. It's one of the only immovable objects in the game, well, not immovable objects, but impassable objects in the game other than Anivia's wall, as well as, I believe there's something else, but I'm forgetting it for the life of me. There are just those few impassable objects where you're just like, oh god damn it, I wish you didn't do that. And his pillar is one of those. You'll know when he pops his pillar, you'll see it's a ginormous pillar that just is there. Not only does it block your path if you were moving in a straight line. Like, if he puts it right in front of you, not only does it just block you, make you have to go around it, it slows you as well. It's got an AoE slow around it. I mean, it only lasts for about 4 seconds, but that 4 seconds is enough to let Trundle catch up to you, especially when he pops his other abilities, or, you know, he moves faster than you just flat out. So, be wary of that. He is susceptible to CC, though. He doesn't have, you know, any means of breaking it or really getting away from it because he is melee, but he can just soak up a bunch of damage and just be that meat shield that his team needs him to be. He has high base health, high base damage, but he doesn't really have a way of escaping other than his pillar. So again, be wary of that as you're playing him too. You don't have any escape mechanism other than your pillar, and you don't have really any chase mechanism other than your pillar. So be very, very tactical on when you use that pillar of ice or filth, depending on which skin you use. Next we have Ahri, who... Also, I should say this. Maybe you want to play 1 or 2 games as Trundle versus boss, just to get used to him. Or even, you don't even have to play against bots. What you can just do is start up a custom game and just look at the abilities. Look at the abilities. That's all you have to do with most of these champions. Start up a custom game, 1v0, and just look at the abilities and read what they do, try and understand them, and then if you're unsure, play against bots. Moving on though. Ahri, she is very, very effective. Like, since they changed her charm, she's just been a beast to deal with and to play as. Her charms, for those of you that didn't know, her charm is pretty much a taunt, forces you to move towards her, as well as also makes you take more damage from her for a few seconds during it and after her charm wears off. Her ult, it's a nice dash that you can pop 3 different times. That does do damage every time you do it, and the damage prioritizes champions. You have your Foxfire, which... that's just, it doesn't do as much damage, but it still hurts. And it's better to pop that, when you're in a group of people, in a big team fight, so that we can actually try and get the most damage spread amongst everyone versus just the minimal damage done to one person. And your orb, it still hurts, it still does pure damage. I believe it does pure damage. I could be wrong though. Don't quote me on that, I could be wrong. But it still does hurt, plus with the fact that her passive got changed, she actually gets more life now from her passive than she did previously, because it's not a percentage, it's how many things get hit, and then scale upon your AP. So it's definitely nice. I'm glad they changed that, but again, be very, very wary. She's very, very difficult to play and to play against. I definitely 100% recommend playing against bots your first, 3-4 times playing as Ahri, just so you can understand how her ult truly, truly works. Like, yeah, you can jump up and down the cliffs, but you don't want to use her ult just for that. If you have to use your ult to escape, use your ult to escape. Don't just use it, willy-nilly. You want to use that in the clutch moments of, oh, I have to go chase this enemy down, or I have to get away, or I just want to zip around the battlefield because I'm not being focused, and that's probably one of the better ways of doing damage. Alongside, popping your charm, trying to get, that charm off on, like, a good example of her combo would be, ulting in, ulting through, the front line, charming the ADC in the back, and then just laying waste to that ADC, ulting, one more time, and then just ulting back out of that giant engagement, and you'll go back to the back line and continue doing your spells. That's a key, that's a key thing to learn as Ahri. You want to know how to pop your ult in combination with your charm, with your Foxfire, and with your orb, and vice versa. You want to know exactly when everything is coming off that cooldown chain, so that you can go ahead and pop your wombo combo and just completely decimate someone. She scales very, very well with AP, so don't be scared. She does get a good chunk of health just passively, but she's one of those AP champions where I will recommend a Rideless Crystal Staff or Scepter. Just because you want that extra AP, you want that extra health, as well as that slow. The slow does help too. So definitely one of those champions where I will actually recommend that. And again, 100% recommend going against bots your first few times as RA. Then we've got Fiora. They did change Fiora's ultimate where it'll actually hit, it'll actually still go off if champions go invisible. Meaning they go into the brush, they go, they pop stealth, whatever. If they go invisible, your ult will still go off. You just won't stop anymore, but, it won't do damage to them while they're invisible. Unless you have a way of revealing them, such as wards, oracle, etc. Very, very strong. Her riposte, I believe that's how you pronounce it, riposte, can certainly help deflect big attack. Just like Pantheon's shield can help deflect a big attack, but it actually deflects it back and also does extra damage. So again, say you have Misfortune who's about to hit you with a big 400 crit, just a regular auto attack, riposte, oh look, that just got sent back to her and did extra damage because it does scale, it does extra damage just passively and then scales a little bit with your AP. And then Fiora just in general, very, very strong, but difficult to learn, difficult to play. She's one of those where it really does take, about 15-20 minutes for you to just ramp up, get, that level 8 and 9, and so on and so forth, to, just really get into the swing of things with her, and really just be that menace that we can see sometimes. Not necessarily all the time, but definitely sometimes she, if you have a bad early, if you have a decent early game, you can certainly turn into a very good late game. But if you have just like, oh my god, you can't farm and you're like 0-3, you're just gonna have a horrible, horrible late game, and they have to kind of fix that with her. She's one of those where it's like all in or nothing. There's no in between. There's no coming back unless you just get, good 15 minutes of just free farming after that. Like they take your tier 1 tower first 7 minutes of the game, and then they just leave you alone for a good 15 minutes. That gives you enough time to farm up, get your Tiamat or even Ravenous Hydra, get, something that has health like a Randuin's Omen, for instance, or start working on Warmogs and just laugh at them. Very difficult to play due to the fact that, her ult, it's just wonky. It's one of the only ults that actually makes you go truly invulnerable and just bounce around the battlefield. That's why I recommend the Ravenous Hydra, and that's, it's actually one of her recommended items, I believe. Again, recommend playing against bots as her, and getting, again, you want to get that Ravenous Hydra, you want to get maybe a Randuin's Omen or the, Warmogs, one of the two, and then build into something that adds crit, like an Infinity Edge, and then just kind of go from there. Maybe get, I would almost recommend a Trinity Force just for, the extra damage whenever you pop, an ability from Sheen. So yeah. But again, I would recommend at least 1 to 2 games versus bots to understand her. All champions I recommend going against bots, your first few times, just to learn them, so your teammates are not just like, oh my god, go back to bots, noob! Just go to bots in the first place and save yourself the hassle. Last but not least, Zyra. Very, very good mid, very, very good support. Depending on how you want to play her and how she is being played by your opponents. If you guys just play her as a support, she's still good. If you play her as a mid, she's still good. She's one of the few, champions that can be that support or mid, and it doesn't matter. She does both equally good. The thing that makes her good as a support is the fact that she doesn't really have to build any CDR items I mean, yeah, she doesn't have a heal, she has a root. She also has a reveal in the fact that her seeds, if stepped on by enemy champions, they reveal them for a few seconds. But they also turn into plants that can do damage. She has an AoE knockup in the form of her ult, and, again, she just roots people in place for like 2 seconds, and that can be devastating. That lets your ADC just kind of stand there and wail on people. And if you're playing her as mid, same thing applies. Her root, yeah, it's a kind of a pseudo skill shot, but everything in its path gets rooted. So it's not, oh look, it's like Swain's stun. Anything in that range gets stunned after like a second and a half, except with her, it's anything that gets hit by those roots gets rooted. She's just good all around for either role, and then when she dies with your passive, you have a chance of vengeance and just doing extra damage to, the enemy. So that's always good. That can help your ADC or even you secure a kill if the champion's gonna get away, with like 30 health. So, it's good. Again, recommend playing maybe 2 games versus bots with her, just so we can get the swing of just how her spells handle. That's it. She's difficult to learn just because of the way of how her skills work, how her seeds work in relation to the rest of her abilities. And just how her abilities work without being, without you turning her seeds into, plants. So, that's the only reason why I would recommend with her go against bots. Every other champion, it's because they do have that highest skilling, like Ari, for instance, or Fiora. They are difficult to learn. Zyra, again, it says right down here, her difficulty not so high, but her difficulty is rather high, but in reality, it's not that high once you understand how her how her seeds work and how they evolve into plants and what spells make them evolve into what plants and what your spells just do in general. So, yeah, guys, that's it. My name has been Shadowswalm, and as always, if I forgot anything, I'm sorry. Leave comments in the comment section down below if you have any questions, stuff like that. And yeah, I'm gonna be making a video rather soon here, and it's gonna be showing you guys my new computer. But yeah, guys, that's it. I will talk to you all next time.